Hey everyone, today I'm bringing you a comparison between the Poco X7 and Poco X7 Pro devices that were introduced by Xiaomi at the end of January 2025, actually early January, in the mid to low price range of prices ranging from 270 to 400 euros, which I believe is the most interesting range because it allows you to get the best performance to price and quality to price ratios. So let's dive in and discover the differences and similarities between these two devices. For testing, I received the version with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of internal storage for both devices, and I'd suggest we take a look at what's inside the box. Starting this year, you probably won't find chargers inside the box anymore. I read on Amazon that they won't be included, and I found out that apparently, starting this year, they are no longer included in the package, but in the samples I received, as you can see, they were included. They can be purchased in a bundle at a discounted price at 79 euros and 90 cents, which is still a great price, considering we're discussing the Poco. X7 comes with a 45W charger, and the X7 Pro with a 90W charger, but compared to the previous years, it's still a drawback. Besides the chargers, the USB-C cable will definitely be included in the package. You'll also find some cases, which are actually made of high-quality material. In my opinion, as they are a mix of plastic and rubber with a great finish, they allow the devices to have a slightly more minimal look considering those that are the bold aesthetic designs and vibrant colors of Poco, as we will see shortly. In fact, let me immediately show you the design of the Poco X7 and Poco X7 Pro. We can notice that they feature quite bold designs, at least in terms of colors, especially on the Poco X7. We offer this model in black and yellow, featuring a faux leather finish. I must say it feels great to the touch, making the Poco X7 really enjoyable to use because, with its rounded edges all around the frame, it's very comfortable to hold and is more compact compared to the X7 Pro, which actually has a boxy design. So in terms of handling, I really like this X7 from the design perspective. I didn't particularly appreciate this intrusive design of cameras with its 4 modules and slight thickness. On the sides, there's a plastic frame with a very similar array of ports for both devices. Indeed, we have a top speaker, infrared ports, and a microphone with a volume rocker on the side, and power button, and at the bottom, a speaker, USB-C port, and a slot for dual SIM cards. On the Poco X7, the design is more squared off, and aesthetically I prefer it because it's definitely a more minimal design. Even the camera module strongly resembles the one on the iPhone 16, which I find more understated, but it's less comfortable to handle. It's more wide, and it seems thicker, even though between the two the thicker one is actually the X7 Pro at 8.6 millimeters, while the X7 is 8.3 millimeters and weighs 195 grams. 190 grams. The weight of the Poco X7. Compared to last year's models, the X6 and X6 Pro, the weights have slightly increased by about 10 grams. Okay, so after analyzing the aesthetics a bit, we can turn the devices over and notice that both have fingerprint unlocking, which works properly, is very fast and very reliable on both. Let's dive deeper into the display discussion, starting with the display. In terms of size, the displays are quite similar, as you can see, because they are. Both feature 6.67-inch panels. Both are AMOLED. Both have a resolution of 1.5K, which is higher than Full HD at 1220 by 2716 pixels. Excellent. With a 120 Hz refresh rate, 3200 nits of maximum brightness, 3000 nits of maximum brightness. Truly impressive. Technical details, but as you can see here, we have a flat panel. A flat panel with very slim bezels. The chin is still slightly thicker than the other bezels, but it's still a modern device. Nice to use. With this completely flat design, the Poco X7, on the other hand, is the first Poco to feature a slightly curved 3D display design. Curved, not too curved, and personally, I haven't encountered any issues while using it. By the way, there's a feature that lets you decide the extent of the area, so the device won't be sensitive to side touches, so from this perspective, I haven't encountered any issues. These are two great displays, though I wouldn't say they're on par with the displays of high-end devices. But honestly, the differences are getting quite minimal. A flagship might have a display that can reach up to 4000 nits, but in everyday use. In terms of color reproduction, color accuracy, resolution, and refresh rate, these are truly excellent panels. Let's quickly check out the system features and notice another difference. Because the Poco X7 will come with Xiaomi Hyper OS 2.0 based on Android 14, while the X7 Pro will have HyperOS 2.0 based on Android 15, so we'll already be a year ahead in updates. Considering that the current policy includes 3 years of major updates and 4 years of security updates. For security updates, we'll go up to Android 18 for the X7 Pro and Android 17 for the X7. Actually, the interface is quite similar. I'll quickly show you the differences now. But it's disappointing to see a device released in 2025 come with Android 14. As for the version, as I mentioned, we have a substantial 512 gigabytes of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM that can be virtually expanded. What are the differences between HyperOS 1.0 and HyperOS 2.0? There are very few differences in terms of functionality, just a few more integrated features. In terms of artificial intelligence, and not all features, especially those related to photo editing, are immediately available. They will be available in March. The changes are more aesthetic, more about refinement, which is good in this regard, meaning the animations are more softer, more refined. Overall, with HyperOS 2.0, the device feels more cohesive in many aspects, but these are mainly aesthetic and behavioral tweaks. But in terms of functionality, it doesn't change much. The Poco X7 Pro comes with a launcher that is updated in both widget management and the widgets available in other areas. The icons, in fact, will still be the classic ones. I personally installed an icon pack. As an alternative, I'll link it in the description because I find the Xiaomi ones cuter than those of the Poco launcher. And by the way, I also installed the same HyperOS 2 launcher on the Poco X7. In fact, you can see that essentially the user experience is now identical for both the launcher and the icons. The animations are really well crafted, and even though it transitions from HyperOS 1.0 to HyperOS 2.0, considering some animation changes, it really doesn't change all that much. There's definitely more attention to detail. Since we are at this comparison page, I would suggest we also focus on the technical hardware features of the devices where most of the differences lie. The Poco X7 is equipped with a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Ultra processor. It's an octa-core processor built on a 4nm process, and it's a solid performer, allowing for good performance. Scoring 700,000 points on Antutu is a strong score for a mid-range device. It's balanced in terms of CPU, GPU, memory, and UX. You can game on this device, obviously not with AAA titles at the highest settings, but you won't encounter any issues with game pushed and in everyday use. Here, folks, we practically have a real processor, a flagship because we're talking about the MediaTek Dimensity 8400, consistently built on 4nm. This processor has a unique feature. It consists of 8 high-performance cores. So in multi-core, it's truly a super powerful processor, as demonstrated by the numbers. We have 1.6 million points on Antutu, which is practically comparable to last year's top models with very high CPU scores and GPU scores that are practically 4 times those of the Poco X7 Pro. So you can play games first on this Poco X7 Pro not only thanks to the processor, CPU, and GPU, but also due to the memory. Here too, there's a difference as we have UFS 4.0 memory, the same as high-end models indeed. We see 4,000 megabytes in read and write speeds. Here we have 2.2, but aside from this in use, in everyday use, as you can see, the devices are practically the same. This is because if you're not playing AAA games, the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Ultra easily manages all daily tasks, and the differences are minimal. Here, folks, there's also a discussion about thermal management at a high level, considering there are 10 temperature sensors inside, and in AI algorithm that helps optimize the gaming experience, along with the game turbo mode available on both devices, which allows you to get the most performance out of the hardware of these devices. Here you can play AAA games with great satisfaction. Truly a fantastic device from this viewpoint, but it also performs well. Another difference I've noticed, let me quickly show you the CPU benchmark results. Notice the level up. With multi-core, we essentially have 2.5 times the power of this device. As for the integrated modems, they have good signal reception on both devices for both internet and voice calls. In terms of speed, we've recorded maximum speeds of 300 megabytes for download and upload. And here we can reach up to 1,000 megabytes for both. Hey, another strong point of these devices is the battery. Note that the Poco X7 has a 5,110 milliamp hours battery, and the Poco X7 Pro even has a 6,000 milliamp hours one. We realize how with more efficient processors and larger batteries, the devices still remain thin, making them true battery phones in the size of regular devices. You can get almost 2 days of use with both devices, and with the 6,000 milliamp hours, you truly experience excellent battery life. Additionally, all features have been implemented to help protect the battery and enhance its longevity. And the battery over time, with optimized charging, numerous control algorithms, and so even after maybe 800-1000 charges, the battery health will never fall below 80%, which is another noteworthy feature. Regarding the audio, very briefly, both stereo speakers are highlighted with excellent quality. As for the cameras, well, that Poco devices have never been known for their photography capabilities, but with these two, and especially with the Poco X7, I had to change my mind. Both feature a Sony IMX882 sensor, 50 megapixels, 1.5f aperture, and I was able to capture some truly excellent shots not only in good lighting conditions, where practically all mid-range devices allow for good shots, but also in low-light conditions, not only the detail, but the color rendering surprised me because it often happens that the color rendering seems a bit unnatural. However, I was particularly impressed with the Poco X7, which, in my opinion, it takes better shots than the Poco X7 Pro, even though in reality, the main sensor is the same. It is also complemented by an 8 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, decent, not high quality, but again, the camera setup has pleasantly surprised me. These devices are increasingly balanced in every aspect of view. They're obviously not camera phones, but I no longer consider the camera on these devices a weak point. Also, consider that the X7 Pro allows you to shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second, and that additional AI features will be added over time in photo management. So folks, what can I say? It's clear they've won me over. I hope so, because they are complete and reliable devices. Here's an overview of the current devices, which cost under 400 euros and actually have no flaws. Plus, they don't know if I mentioned it, but both are water and dust resistant with IP68 certifications, so they are becoming more well-rounded. The X7 in the 8 to 256 variant is sold at an official price of 299 euros. Its street price, I've considered AliExpress, which is currently the store where you can find it, at the lowest price, 215 euros. 215 euros for this device is a great deal, and if you wait a few weeks or months, I'm sure you'll be able to find it on Amazon for around 250 euros. The same applies to the 12 to 512 version, 350 euros official price, 265 euros on AliExpress. In a few weeks or months under 300 euros, here's Poco X7 Pro, 8 a 256, 369 official price, 294 on AliExpress. I believe it will soon be around 320 to 300 euros on Amazon. Here as well, a very comprehensive phone. The same goes for the 12 to 512 version. Other devices with which, comparing the X7 and X7 Pro. Previous versions like the Poco X6 Pro, if you're interested. Power, similar features, slightly worse on the camera side, a bit older, but still, if you want to save money, you can find the 12 to 512 gigabyte version for 270 euros. Great. Galaxy A35. When it comes to updates, because here I think the real flaw, which actually improves, but still remains a slight disadvantage, is the software. Here we have 6 years of updates for 320 euros. A complete device nonetheless. If you're interested in another device, in the price range around 300 euros with a curved screen, if you don't like this design, a bit flashy from Poco, I recommend the Moto Edge 50 Fusion, which is practically identical in front to this X7 Pro. Great battery, nice software, very clean, and also a design definitely more minimal. These are some other alternatives. Folks, that's all for this video. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I didn't delve too much into the details, but I got carried away and tried to provide you with as much information as possible. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this. And especially check the description because there are many other comparison videos, speed tests, and guides on removing bloatware and ads from these two devices linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.